So we come to the end, for now, of the Fast Saga. This being F9, the 9th, technically 10th, technically 11th, of the franchise of the Fast and Furious, one of the highest grossing franchises of all time. And I'd say at this point, for pretty good reasons. Being very high, intense action, it's very, very fun to watch, despite the more and more increasingly stupid, just logic-defying stories that, despite not making a lot of physical sense, at least it hits you emotionally with its very likable characters and good enough plots that bring these characters into enough intense action and stakes for you to be vaguely entertained and vaguely into what's really going on here. But the more important shit you're here for is, of course, the dumb, crazy action, and you'll get more of that with F9, or F9, as I'm going to call it going forward. F9 was supposed to release literally last year, April 2020, until, of course, Hobbs and Shaw was just a little bit too close, so they decided to move it around. It and No Time to Die, which itself also was moved around due to the whole COVID-19 pandemic. Released internationally on May 19th, and then later in the United States on June 25th, only a few days ago in terms of releasing, became the 4th highest grossing film of 2021. And hey, I'm definitely part of that. Though part of me did kind of want to come home and look at the box office and be like, whoop, it bombed. But obviously why the fuck would it? Because it's Fast and Furious, and when you're making another one, it's gonna do well. So, flashback in 1989, we see Jack Toretto, father of Dom and what we now know as Jacob Toretto, played by two actors who, if you had them have different haircuts, probably would have been better for the opposite roles' younger versions, but whatever. The fated race where Jack Toretto would die, mainly due to the actions of a person who was vaguely mentioned in the first one, who Dom beat the piss out of. It was because of Kenny Linder's sort of crashing into him did Jack Toretto sort of crash and fucking die. But as we find out later in the movie, that may or may not be thanks to Jacob Toretto, who actually worked under the hood of Jack right before the race. Through more flashbacks as we go along, we find out that Jacob Toretto, in fact, has been a spy for a long time, just out of pure fucking spite of just trying to be way better than Dom in every way possible. Now, understandable, but why he decided to become a spy because of this and somehow got into the whole Mr. Nobody stuff before Dom was ever able to. Okay, fine. Jacob Toretto is, of course, fucking John Cena, who is working for this sort of rival group, who is really just sort of working together with this pompous, douchey British guy who's just very, very rich. As it turns out, the reason why Mr. Nobody wasn't directly involved in Hobbs and Shaw is because he was out trying to get Cypher, and he was able to capture mid-movie. But as it turns out, due to the actions of Jacob and his British friend Otto, they were able to crash it, and through a weird hidden message, our main group is able to figure out where he crashed, and though Don does have some reservations of it, he ultimately decides to follow Letty and the group to just, make sure they don't fucking die. When they end up there, they end up being chased by, I believe, the, authorities of the area, because God knows people just hate them in general, but more likely people who are working with Jacob, who, of course, shows up and takes the half of the weird machine they're looking for, and because of that, Dom sort of has to explain who the fuck Jacob is and why he's important. Our cast nearly does die after going through a fucking minefield and not being exploded, except Roman's big tank thing he brought with them. I wonder where they got this stuff, but not only do they have government connections, because Hobbs still exists, but, they're rich as fuck, so who cares? It's questions like that I don't really have, because our characters are canonically very rich, so they can buy whatever the fuck they want, and nobody will care. But anyway, it is really dumb that they do survive, though, is after Jacob Toretto gets away with the fucking magnet jet that takes away his car, Dom tries to escape these helicopters that are shooting missiles at them, and he does so by just driving on top of a piece of a bridge and swinging on the rope part of the bridge with his car like he's fucking Car Tarzan, because fuck you, logic has ceased to exist. Now there is some dumb shit in this franchise, but that is the fucking stupidest. I thought it was stupid in the trailer, and I think it's fucking stupid now. What the hell? So our characters kind of split up going forward. Dom goes to London to directly confront Jacob, and through this does he actually meet up with Shaw Mom, where she kind of tells him what's going on and what's with Jacob. But due to Otto sort of having some connections with Interpol, Dom is seemingly arrested if it weren't for just Cardi B showing up, because apparently she was met by Dom at some point. And apparently Queenie, Shaw Mom sent them, but sure, whatever. So, future mid-editing me, I find out who the fuck Cardi B's character is. She's the sister of Cara from fucking Los Bandoleros, which is not said in the movie, but apparently post that, her and Cardi B's character, again her sister, set up a fucking all-female paramilitary group. And that's what they've been doing since. So that's a thing that's been going on this whole entire time. Tej Roman and Ramsey go on this crazy magnet car involved fight scene where Ramsey can't drive but is able to sort of turn the big magnet they have in the van on and off, which fucks with the other people chasing them. It's a very, very entertaining chase scene, which ends up them magnetizing the car that Jacob steals to try and get away, which sends him right into the van, thus, of course, capturing him. They get there at around the same time where, of course, Mia and Letty come back. Now, firstly, Mia is in this movie because she's like, hey, Letty told me Jacob's back, so I might as well involve myself in this plot. Thankfully, Brian is not involved because he's looking over the kids, because might as well keep them safe with the other main character. That is strangely completely acceptable. Like, out of all people who should be looking after the kids, it should be Brian. That makes sense to me, actually. Because if it's not him, it's going to be The Rock, and sure. But point being, they separately go for themselves, seemingly looking at a lead in Tokyo, where they end up finding out that fucking Han is alive. And he's working with this cool, kick-ass Asian girl whom he has a weird connection with. When all of them meet up back at this base, which apparently Mr. Nobody had set up a long time ago, he reveals why exactly he's been alive the whole time, and it's actually strangely acceptable, and is kind of cool. As it turns out, he was given a new chance by Mr. Nobody right after the event of Fast 6, where he was ultimately working secretly, and he finds the strange device they're all looking for right now by these scientists in Tokyo, who are killed by a group who I believe to have been Jacob's group. Though not necessarily Jacob, because that would make him the killer of those parents, and at the end of the movie he needs to be a good guy, spoilers, but whatever. Pretty sure his group did end up killing those people, though, and because of that, Han decided to take care of the girl, who is now the secret key in order to activate the weird thing, because it's only activated through that family's DNA, which, okay, sure, I guess. So thus, in order to keep the world and this young girl safe away from the people looking to try to capture her, he fakes Han's death, and this was the perfect cover to keep him away from the eyes of society. So thus, a weird hologram or something of Han was in the vehicle that was destroyed by Deckard right as that was happening. Of course, as this explanation is happening, this is in fact what Jacob was waiting for. Because as it turns out, the reason why Mr. Nobody was looking at our group is because Jacob was working with Mr. Nobody originally. He went rogue and decided to do shit on his own, and that was the reason why Mr. Nobody started looking at Dom specifically. To the possibility of, just in case, he'll need to use Dom and his crew against him, and any other rogue agents on his level. Now everything kind of connects, and even more so than before, this weird hacker Illuminati rivalry has actively been more part of this series than you ever knew before. So as he takes complete control of the situation, and then we get this cool standoff between the two brothers, where it ends with him taking the girl away. Our group is able to escape using the big magnets that they stole, and though they are nearly able to escape but are caught up with by more of Jacob's men, Dom sort of like pulls the whole fucking roof down on them and nearly fucking dies. We get a cool life flashing before his eyes thing, which really puts everything into just motion, and especially with what Jacob had said during their cool face-off, which is he didn't mean for him to fucking die. He did a thing that, in fact, their dad told him to do, which is to have his car stall out so that he could actually lose the race, and that would help them get more money.
My new movie has action.
Fuck you. All because he promised to keep this a secret, and especially due to his guilt of basically being responsible for his dad's death. This had the two separate, and now they are where they are. So Dom wants to sort of fix this right as they begin to sort of chase down the group. Trying to stop them from taking control of this satellite that they just fucking launched. You got this crazy magnet throwing around shit, chasing again with a big, like, it looks like a fucking transport from Star Wars that they're just throwing magnet shit at, and it's just absolutely nuts. Until our villain Otto turns against Jacob and basically has his bigger buffer guy fight against him. This is where the scene where the guy who's standing on the car hit by the other car happens. I thought that was John Cena magnetically picking up a car. I thought that's what that was, and I'd been saying that the last couple forever. But I was wrong. That was just a guy who ended up standing on a car that was already kind of going, getting hit by another car because magnets and such. By the way, this is around the same time where after Jacob is thrown off, Dom magnetically has a car thrown. Jacob falls on the car, doesn't hurt, slides off of it onto Dom's car, and is totally fine, and it's so weird. Dom, like, lets him go until, of course, Jacob decides he's gonna help our group, and they flip the fucking thing over, and it's awesome. But keep in mind, that's only half of this whole situation, because this entire time, yes, with help of the Tokyo Drift crew, they send Tej and Roman into space. Now, it's on the moon, but technically they're still in the vicinity of Earth. They're not to the moon yet, like I think they will be in Fast and Furious X, which will be what it will be called. But they did go to space. We went from stealing CD players from truckers to fucking space. We have jumped that far. That's so weird. But anyway, they basically don't really do much, and honestly it's kind of the worst part of the movie, because it's just like, wow, great, we're in space. Though Roman does give a pretty cool speech before they literally drive into the fucking satellite, which doesn't fucking kill them, by the way. Neither does them wearing diving suits in space. Because they're just found by a traveling satellite, which eventually gets them back to Earth, though apparently after a few weeks or something. Our on-Earth crew is able to flip over the vehicle, get the whole machine out, and are, with Jacob's help, able to stop Otto, who's tricked by Cypher by the end of the film to work with her, from getting the thing. God knows where the hell it goes. I'd like to imagine they just fucking broke it, which would have been my solution, with at least half of the thing. Like, they literally had half of it when they had captured Jacob. They got his half of it, so why didn't they just break it? I would have just broken it. I would just went, click, break it. How strong could it be? After that, though, they let Jacob kind of go off on his own, where he'll probably have some more redemption arc to him, even though he may or not have been responsible for the deaths of lots of people. But then again, we apparently have forgiven the Shaws and such, so who cares? But now, Han, who's reunited with all of his friends, which is actually very emotional for me. It was really nice to see these characters really come together and show that they really have grown as characters and they do care about each other. Just a lot of hugging around. Do we get another nice family dinner scene with, though we don't have the two of them, we do have Santos, so he is at least here. Because apparently Rico is off in his own fucking restaurant business? So that's weird. This also explains on why they weren't in the previous movies, that they were off doing their own business-involved stuff. And also with Dom apparently knowing them since he was in juvie, this explains that he's known them for a long time. He's basically part of their original crew. And firstly, how they got involved with each other and why Dom was able to get where he was after 1 into 4, which is pretty cool. But also why he did get them involved all the time, because he cares about them, you know, like childhood friends. And that's pretty neat. That goes into what I was already thinking on why they weren't involved all the time. But point being, we get this neat cool little family dinner scene of everyone being all together, and it's very cute. And we get a last little showing of, hey, there's one seat open. Who's going to show up? It's Brian. You don't see him, obviously, but you do see his car run up. And that's the end of the movie. With, of course, a post-credit scene of Han showing up on Deckard's door, where we'll hopefully see that confrontation in Fast and Furious X. Now, personally, I could say right now, I kind of don't want to see Fast and Furious X, though I kind of would want to see Han in, like, another Hobbs and Shaw. And that would be good enough for me, you know? I would definitely love to see a Roman and Tej movie, especially now. Please give me that. They just really work well together. But personally, I could still have this be the last one. With that ending there of everyone together, everyone kind of done even more so with whatever arcs they were having throughout this series. Like, it's done. Like, we're done now. What else are we going to do? Are they just gonna bring back Jack Toretto in the next one? He actually didn't die? Fucking just do it, you might as well. That being said, though, I really kind of did like this. I actually did like this. I found it very enjoyable. Though its action scenes are even more so than several parts of the last few. You know how much I just don't like that moment where Dom just catches Letty in the middle of the fucking air, they crash on a car, and they don't fucking break their backs. It's got a bunch of moments like that that are either close level or on that level or like the fucking Tarzan scene, worse than that. And it's one part that those parts take me out of the movie, not gonna fucking lie. Those are so unrealistic that it goes past the point of me going, whatever, it's Fast and the Furious. It's just like, after a while I'm like, but really though, stop! Because I want to pretend that I'm actively invested into what's going on here, you know? I want to pretend that I at least kind of feel like they might die in the situation. I know I'm never going to fully get that with this series, never really have been able to, but at least give me something here, guys. Don't make it just like them catching each other with cars here. Come on. Despite that, though, I did feel like Justin Lin's directing is just as good as it's always been. It's very high impact, very high energy, it's very, very enjoyable, and does exactly what it should be doing. He's definitely grown as a director as time goes on, he's definitely framed stuff better than he ever has been, though there's definitely several shaky cam fight scenes because that's just the way Hollywood still does it. It's a lot better than it has been in past, especially against certain other movies I've seen before, like the fucking Taken series. It's never been on that level, but it's even more so as the years have went on, gone far and away from needing that sort of thing. But again, the crazy cuts are still there of the you gotta have a cut for everything he does in the thing. Not as egregious in something like Terminator 3, but it's definitely got that. And at this point, they've really merged it together for have it be something that really gets you into the action, as unrealistic and dumb as it may be. I really gotta do praise his directing, especially at this point of finally being able to really get with these actors. And maybe it's because they were also working with several other actors along the way, but Justin Lin has definitely been able to bring everyone together and really get the best out of everyone in this movie. Ludacris, while still not fantastic, is probably the best he's ever been in this entire franchise, and him and Roman really work together better than they ever have been. Like, I really, more so than ever, want to see a movie with these two characters. That chemistry of Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez is still there, and it's still the best part about the movie, and I love just the whole chemistry of the whole group together. I'd say the weakest point is actively Han in this, though it's cool to have him in here, and I do believe the reason why he is alive. Still would have much preferred him to stay dead, because that was just a better way to end his character, all things considered. There was no reason to bring him back, especially with the fact that he didn't actually add much into this movie. He didn't even have that many lines and didn't do that much. He helped them at the end of the scene there, and he blew a guy up, but that's kind of it. That being said, John Cena. Did he need to be in this movie? Probably not. Is this the worst from John Cena? Fuck no. Is it the best from John Cena? Also fuck no. He is just very middle road, very generic villain. He's just kinda nothing. Better than fucking Cypher, though, who is just as bad as she was at the end of F8. It's so weird. In the beginning of Fate of the Furious, she was kind of interesting, and then she just went off into be this bullshit spouting fucking villain who's just like, did the spider catch the fly? Yes, said I, the pig, and is the villain, the other person's supposed to be like, what? what do you mean? And then she'll be like, yes, the pig is you and I am the spider. And that's all of her lines. Some dumb fucking nothing. She ends up making Otto turn to her side somehow. She's so pointless. Charlize Theron can do so much better than this. She gets nothing from this character. Absolutely nothing. I was kind of hoping at the ending, when they blew up her drone, they blew up her. I would have been so happy if her character was not on screen anymore. Thing is, though, I like the characters. I love that it did try to connect everything from the other movies together, just emotionally and character arc-wise, and it was very worthwhile in watching if you are a Fast and Furious viewer. But if you are like my sister, who I had watched this with me for this exact reason of her not knowing anything besides what I had told her leading into the movie, she didn't get as much out of it, though. But that being said, I could say you could get more out of this than the previous ones. Due to how much was in this and how just strange it was and how much better structured it was as a film, plus due to it introducing stuff about Jack that brought in Jacob into it much better than they could have if they just did it, with the whole flashback scenes and them bringing in Han and having a whole history behind him and this other girl. There's almost more for new fans to get into from this going forward than you would have if you had started with 7 or 8. Now, would I say start with this? Probably not. You should probably still watch the others if you're going to go into this. These movies are at the point where new viewers won't get much out of this. But again, I feel that this one, more so than the others, has more to it and is much more enjoyable and is better made just in several ways, that a new viewer probably could get into this and get something out of it as opposed to 7 or 8. Being said, I would actually put it above the two. Around the same level as them, but definitely better than Hobbs and Shaw in every fucking capacity. But definitely something I wouldn't want to see more than the others. However, probably would see it again. I had a fun time with F9, and as much as I didn't think I would after seeing Hobbs and Shaw and rewatching F8 and going, this ended up being much more enjoyable than I thought, and basically what I was hoping for. A movie that reminded me why I liked these characters, why I liked the dumb, stupid action, even if it did have Tarzan in it, which is still the stupidest fucking scene of the franchise. Looking for some dumb, stupid fun, that's what Fast and Furious will be doing. Hopefully, though, considering the character arcs are basically more done than they ever have been, they'll not ruin it in the two-parter finale. That'll be the next to Fast and Furious X and 11? Question mark? Or whatever the fuck they're gonna call them. Hopefully just Part 1, Part 2. I'd be down for that. Might as well. Until then, I would say we have went quite a journey. It's just so much has went on from this series from the beginnings until right now. 20 years. It's been 20 years since Fast and Furious 1. That's nuts. That's nuts that it's went this far. We went in space. Two guys from the ghetto in space. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. That's what they're saying in the movie. I didn't just make that up. That's nuts, though. You wouldn't have thought when watching that first one, if you were in theaters during that time, if some crazy asshole next to you was like, we'll be in space by the 10th movie, technically the 9th. I'll be like, who the fuck are you? I'm like 2 years old. And you know what? It's been not that fantastic of a series. There's been highs and lows. It certainly went just nowhere as realistic or as gritty, like Gearhead as it really began to be. It's definitely changed into a more generic, regular action movie. But despite that, it's kept its charm to it, these movies could definitely be a fuck ton worse. There are way worse, just like boring, just corporate pieces of garbage of movies. Despite that, I feel like Fast and Furious will always be a series worth watching and worth talking about as time goes on. I feel like it peaked with Fast 5 and Fast 6, like I said, and it's kind of been steadily declining as time goes on, but if F9 is any showing, then I feel like we're in good hands of the people making the movies to hopefully conclude it all off, at least in terms of our main character's story. Is, again, there will be another Hobbs and Shaw, probably a Tej and Roman movie, and if the news is true, God knows after their stories are done, they'll just put some other characters into it and have them do some other crazy shit, like apparently a Jurassic Park crossover. Sure, I guess. But for now, in terms of the Fast Saga marathon, that'll be it. A franchise I certainly enjoyed, even if it's not the greatest of all time. There's certainly better, smarter movies you could be watching and probably should be watching, but if you want done, fun action, this is the kinds of movies I would rather you watch than, I don't know, fucking R.I.P.D. Of course, I've been the Movie Thawner. If you enjoyed this review, then go ahead and subscribe and watch anything else I've got planned in the future. Got a couple TV shows and other stuff before the next marathon, but that'll be a secret for now. Of course, if you liked this one, you'll definitely like the other Fast Saga reviews, so go ahead and check all those out. Did you like F9? And did you like anything about the other ones? And definitely tell me all your opinions about the past movies and this movie in terms of best and worst and all that crazy shit. Here's the ranking again. Tell me yours. All that cool shit in the comments. Preferably like civil adults who like exploding cars and such. Until then, most importantly, stay good, stay safe, and don't be an asshole.